I am frustrated with myself. I've had a YouTube channel and a Twitch stream for months and months now. Oh my God, it's gonna be a year soon. Okay, so soon I'll have had these for a year, but I just can't seem to get a rhythm about how this is supposed to work. Okay, so basically, I just want to have a rant about that, and I'm just gonna talk it out and take some notes here. So this is completely unstructured, and it may go off the rails, but hey, we're tough. We can handle it. Okay. I'm a big proponent of writing things down. I think that when you write something down, it really helps you think through your thought process and clarify things. So that's what we're going to do today. So I've titled this content creation struggles. Let's start with enumerating those. Okay. Let's even just do these in dots because it's not necessarily like they're in order. Okay, consistency. This is sort of a personality trait, whether you can be consistent or not, in my opinion. I mean, this is also something you can train, but whether you're naturally consistent, naturally, do I believe that? Maybe in the sense that your behavior is set in stone by the things that you do as a young person. When I was younger, there was no demand for me to be consistent about anything, and so I am not consistent now. And so I haven't been posting videos enough. I haven't been doing it regularly enough. I haven't been streaming regularly enough. It's been 2 weeks since I last streamed and like 100 days since I last uploaded a video. So things are not going great in that regard. Okay, so consistency is an issue. What else? What else? I don't know what to talk about, but not because I don't have any ideas, but because it feels a little high stakes. Okay, so when you are deciding what you're putting on your channel or whatever, you are sort of defining yourself and the way that people view you in the future. You want people to know you, and you don't want to mix up too many different things, because if you're doing a bunch of different stuff, then people don't know, like, maybe they saw a video that they liked of you playing Minecraft. But if you upload later something completely different, then they might not be interested in that, and that's going to upset your analytics, which is like not, that's kind of lame, and it's not like analytics are such a big deal, but they kind of are a big deal if you want things to succeed. Motivations is another one, and that kind of adds on to this. I think my main thing that I want is just to build something that I'm proud of, something that will keep track of what I've been doing, because I've been doing for the longest time all kinds of random things, and then there's just like no record of it because I'm the only one who was there at the time that I did it. Like all the research that I've done or all the games that I've played, I was the only one who was there, so there's no record, and it makes it kind of unfulfilling. It's like, where did all that time go, And I want some kind of record. So by making videos, I'm keeping track of all the stuff that I've been up to, and I can check back or show it to people. Okay, those are kind of my like intrinsic motivations. Why do I want a following? I want more people who are also interested in the things that I'm interested in, and I want to have discussions about them. So I guess that's kind of why I want a following. Maybe there's a little bit of be famous in there. I think everybody, well, not everybody, but lots of people want to at least try it. I'd like to at least try it. What is it about the motivations that is a struggle? The motivation struggle is just that I need to keep them clearer. Need to keep a clear goal in mind. Let's approach consistency a little bit. Why do I care about being consistent? Essential for building a following. Okay, so great. So we found a bit of a connection here. I think that you need to be consistent in order to build a following. The algorithms are really accustomed to, they will push forward people who are more consistent, who post quite regularly, so that influences me to think, yes, you do need to be consistent about this. Let's talk about execution. I think that people who are truly successful have a bias for action. Okay, so what I mean by that is, people who are really successful don't stand still and think about what to do. They just go. They just do it and figure it out along the way. So the downside of having this bias for action is that you fail more often, but you learn really quickly too. And so the question really becomes, is failure that bad? I think that failure really isn't that dangerous. It just feels bad. You know, it's natural to fear failure, I think, because if it's very negative, like when you feel like you failed, you know, you feel disappointed, like or maybe like you disappointed others, or you let yourself down, maybe you feel stupid or whatever, but all of that stuff is just feelings, right? So really the toll that failure takes is an emotional one. Emotions don't really make you. Okay? So when you feel an emotion, that's all you're doing is you're feeling it. Okay? So you can if you can identify I am feeling this way, you can plot your route back to where did this emotion start? Is it really important? Is this emotion actually signaling anything useful to me? And that kind of thing. So let's give an example. Okay, so let's say I put together. Okay, you start a business. They say that I think it's roughly 90% of all new businesses fail. Let's say you uh, buy a laundromat. You buy a laundromat and you know it cost you a bunch of money up front, or maybe you got a loan from somebody else to buy the laundromat, and they handed it over to you, and then your plan was to take the laundromat and maybe upgrade the marketing, introduce some tech or something, and really just like spruce the place up. But when you actually get started, it turns out that it's just like way too hard. There's like so much you got to do. You got to get maintenance, and you know it's like maybe you don't know how to ask for help when you need it. You're not really sure what you're doing, and so in the end you end up like folding under that, and you can't, it doesn't work out. You end up having to like maybe sell the place, and maybe you don't make any profit, but you don't lose a whole lot either. But it's like a failure. It still feels bad at the end of the day. So that sucks. I'm not gonna say it doesn't suck, but did you die? But did you die? You didn't die. The takeaway, I think, is um, when you fail, you don't die. Is that the takeaway? I don't know. I think it's inevitable to have to fail. It's inevitable to fail. Even when you fail, you learn things. There's like you can succeed while failing. So maybe you failed to get this laundromat off the ground. It didn't make you a millionaire or whatever you wanted to be when you started it, but you learned about how to buy a business. You learned a little bit about how to run a business. You learned which parts are hard. Maybe you learned that you are not good at asking for help. So these are all now pieces of the puzzle that you have access to that you didn't before. How long would it have taken you to get those little knowledge dots if you hadn't tried? By trying and failing, having this bias for action, you learn so much more quickly. I have always been afraid of trying things because I'm afraid to fail. I guess that's what it is. And so I'm trying to sort of like logically argue myself into understanding that failure isn't actually that bad. Like you don't die. Um, and maybe you think that people think worse of you for that, but if somebody thinks worse of you for trying, that means they're not trying. Okay, so how much success can they possibly gain by not doing anything themselves either? I think it's essential to fail, and you have to try if you want to get anywhere. So I recognize that this is a weakness of mine. I do not have this bias for action, but I'd like to. I would like to learn this skill. If that's possible, I would like to learn it. And so over the past several months, I've been spending, I don't know, all my time, I guess, thinking about how do I approach this problem? How do I make myself a person who can execute and has this bias for action? What have I tried? I tried new things. I did. I tried lots of new things, and I think I became somewhat better at trying new things. I feel like maybe before I started this channel, from an execution standpoint, I was just not executing at all anything ever. I would only do things if I was absolutely forced to. But I started this channel because I saw so many upsides to it, and knew that really the main downside was just that I was afraid to. So we got started. That's good. I think that getting started is a really big part of this. It's probably the most important part, is getting started. But that doesn't mean that the rest of it is easy. Or at least it hasn't been for me. After you get started, you still have to keep going. And getting started is a little bit of a misnomer, because when you say get started, it sort of feels like you're already in motion. But at the beginning of every day, you wake up and you're not doing anything when you wake up. You wake up and you have to make the decision again to start. It's easy to just slide back into, well, I'll just watch some YouTube videos today, or sit around, play some games. There's so many ways to easily spend your time that you can do and enjoy yourself, but you're not making really progress towards any of your life goals, right? And that's what I want to be doing, is making progress towards my life goals. So you have to make yourself get started over and over and over and over again. You can't just do it once. You have to build up the muscle that is getting started. You have to be a starter, a goer, a doer. What else have I tried? Getting rid of distractions. I've done a few experiments in this sort of realm over the last year. For one thing, I found that I was tired a lot. I spend a lot more time in the middle of the night awake than most people, which I understand now because I've been tracking it. I've been tracking it over the last year, but I didn't really understand that at first. So I tried things like no caffeine. I went without caffeine for an entire month, a little over a month. But I found that that was actually worse. And I got even more tired, and I was tired all the time. But I tried it. We gave it a shot. I gave up access to the internet for about a week, where I didn't use any of the stuff that I was used to. No YouTube. I also put games off limits. So I didn't play any games. I didn't watch any videos. I didn't browse Reddit. I didn't look at Twitter. None of that stuff. In that time, instead, I read books, thought about video ideas. I could work on videos. I could make stuff, record things. But at the end of the day, I didn't really make a whole lot of progress with that either. Maybe what I was trying to get at was that I was using the internet a little too much, and it was just my excuse not to actually get anything important done. So I think in some sense I've done a little better because of that break that I took. I kind of clearly understood that issue, because it was just so often throughout the day where I would pull out my phone and then realize, oh, I uninstalled all my apps, and it made me realize just how much time I actually spend avoiding whatever it is I'm presently doing, just like the boredom of this temporary moment, I just had to be entertained all day long. Your brain is motivated by a chemical called dopamine. You are motivated by a chemical called dopamine, which is released inside your brain. Dopamine has, from an evolutionary standpoint, been used to reward you for working hard. But in this modern age, you can get a lot of dopamine from just like scrolling through TikTok, or watching YouTube shorts, or YouTube videos, or playing video games. All of those things will give you dopamine, which is great. You feel great. It's lots of fun. But but this huge supply of dopamine steals away your ability to self-motivate, because you can just do all this stuff instead and just kind of sit idle. You have no real chemical, like in your brain, chemical motivation to do hard things. Although it sounds kind of odd to be chemically motivated to do something. It's just like the way that it's the language your brain speaks, is chemicals. So anyway, by sealing off all of that access to the internet for a little while, I was able to dopamine down a little bit. I got more work done that week in my day job, and I read a lot of books. I think this year, like in the last like 3 or 4 months, I might have read like 10 books, which is crazy. So there was some success there in just doing this dopamine detox thing. Okay, tried that. One thing I haven't tried but thought about offloading the effort. What I mean by this is, this sounds really silly, but I was thinking, if I suck at getting started, but I'm pretty good at figuring out what is the right direction to go. Maybe I suck at the moving in that direction, but I'm good at pointing in the right direction. Then I just need someone else who can do the moving, and I will just do the pointing, is what I was thinking. That was the theory. And I think this works, but there's a number of issues. First of all, you need someone you can trust to do the doing. You need somebody you can trust to get the job done right. Also, if you just look at this on its own, like offloading the effort to somebody else sounds lame. It just means that I can't do anything on my own. Lame. Not cool. Very uncool. Lame. Okay, so that one's out. Straight up, no good, this one. If you want a bias for action, here's my takeaway. This is like obvious, but if you want to have a bias for action, you have to just act. You have to act and act and act so many times that it becomes habit. That's how you build a bias for action is just acting. That is not easy. It's like easy to say, but it's not easy to do because if you don't have a bias for action, how do you start acting? Oh boy. So I guess what it really means is as much as difficult as it is the first time, probably the next couple of times you won't notice much difference. But if you keep at it and keep trying again and again, sooner or later, getting started becomes less difficult. But because something becomes less difficult doesn't mean it's not difficult. It's still difficult. So it's basically a struggle. So you have to just struggle. Just like flail and do your best. Every day, keep at it. Keep motivated in your mind by whatever pushes you forward. I really have this like vision of myself as being an interesting, sort of self-sufficient, admirable sort of person. That's where I'd like to be. I'd like to be that kind of guy. And I think that that's kind of what's sitting in the back of my head all the time, telling me what you're doing right now is not what some, like a cooler version of you would be doing. A cooler version of you would not be doing this right now. That's insightful. That's a good one. This is the one. This is it. This is what I need right now. So I want to build this bias for action. It goes against a lot of my instincts that I've built up this far in my life. But I recognize that those instincts are sort of driven by fear. That I've always been the kind of person to worry a little too much about what might happen, what could go wrong, what people might think. I now realize that none of that is important because it's all just temporary consequences of whatever. And you only need to succeed like once to have permanent consequences. Failure is temporary, success is permanent. If you understand that, then this just becomes like kind of a no-brainer. From a logical standpoint, it's really easy to just kind of see, okay, well it's ridiculous to be afraid of failing because failing's not going to last forever. And if you succeed, success does last forever. Like if somebody's really successful, it's like been shown again and again that people who have been successful once will become successful again, even if they have failures and stuff like that after the fact. I think people are willing to forgive. People really are willing to forgive. People, yourself, your future, you, reality is willing to forgive you for your failures and will reward you for your successes. So that's a takeaway. Tie your shoes, get outside, keep putting one foot in front of the other because that's what cooler you would be doing. There's no use being afraid of the consequences of what people might think because all that stuff is going to go away. But the stuff that you learn and any success you happen to come across in the future, that's going to stay with you. Great. So we've come to a wonderful logical argument, but people aren't really logical all the time. Even I, which I consider myself sort of a pinnacle of logic, often am motivated purely by emotions. But I know that I've trained myself in the past to be better about certain emotions. For example, I used to have real anger issues. As a child, I really had a hard time handling my anger. But as I grew up, I started to ask myself, like, where is this emotion coming from? What are you angry about? Who are you really angry at? Is it this person who's doing this thing, or is it actually you for not being able to do this or that? You know, and so it becomes like, is anger really a useful emotion to have at this moment? And oftentimes it really isn't. And so I trained myself to stop getting angry. I've become a pretty chill guy. It's like kind of hard to make me angry now because I recognize that anger is not really going to get me anything for the most part. There are times where anger can be useful, and it's important to like not really kill off your emotions entirely, but It's easy. I think you can tell when you're overdoing it. Okay, and so I think these days the emotion that really feels like it's thrumming in society right now is fear. People are afraid of going out. People are afraid of talking to others. People are afraid of trying new things. If you don't get your reps in and try new stuff and fail a lot, you start to build up the consequences as this huge, huge deal. But if you had failed over and over again, you would know that failing's not that bad. If you'd been rejected by girls over and over again, you would know that you still live after the fact. Even if you logically understand that ahead of time, the emotional turmoil you go through is something that you need to experience firsthand to get over. Okay, so we get it. The problem is well understood now. And now it's just about putting in the reps, taking those steps every day. I think you got to keep this logical argument front of mind. It really needs to just be like right at the front of everything you do every day. Failure is temporary, success is forever. Even if I fail, I won't die. What would Cooler Me be doing? Run these guys through your head every day. Don't lose track of them, because it's when you lose track of these things that you step back into the no thought brain, the emotional side that just listens to your fear. Cool. Thanks. Nice. Good talk. I am afraid of uploading this because I know that it's actually been like 45 minutes of rambling from me and my notes are not really helpful. Like what is this? But it was for me to get my thoughts in order, okay? I think we came out with some useful tidbits in the end. So, I will push through this bad vibe that I'm feeling and edit this and throw it up on the YouTube so that you don't have to sit through a whole 45 minutes of my rambling, but maybe just get the important bits. Okay? But I will not go back and restructure this and re-record this. I won't do it because what I need is not to do the perfect thing, but to do the thing. So let's follow my own advice. Thanks for watching. I've been Meridian, the elf in your internet, and I will see you next time. Bye bye. What? Bye.